This is the last week on our four-part series of Image and Colorism. And in this episode, I call it, Is There Life Outside the Color Box? So, you can understand why the racism and colorism will lead or has led to fatal casualties. Okay.
Today's Sandy Speaks is going to focus directly on my white people. What I need you to understand is that being a black person in America is very, very hard.
I will light you up. Get out!
Wow.
Now!
Sandy called me, let me know that she had been arrested.
How do you go from failure to signal a lane change to dead in jail by alleged suicide?
I believe she let them know. I'll see you guys in court, and I believe they silenced her.
Do I think this jail have anything to do with her death? No. But moral responsibility-wise, absolutely.
If we want change, we can truly make it happen. Sandy Speaks.
And here are a few of the activists who have and are still addressing the issue of melanated women who are either dealt with or dealing with domestic abuse, suffering police brutality, or missing, or worse, have been killed. Andrea Ritchie, she's a writer, lawyer, and activist for women of color, especially LGBTQ women of color who have been victims of police violence. She's also the author of Invisible No More, A History of State Violence Against Women of Color. And she's the co-author of No More Police, which is a case for abolition with Mirami Kaba. And then there's Pound Say Her Name by Kimberly Crenshaw. Ms. Crenshaw is a pioneering scholar and writer on civil rights and critical race theory. Her work has been foundational in critical race theory and in intersectionality, which is a term she coined to describe the double bind of simultaneous racial and gender prejudice. And the reason she uses the pound in front of the book title is because there have been so many books written with the title Say Her Name, both fiction and nonfiction. And then there's Say Her Name by Louise Emma Joseph. She's a member of the British Empire, but she's known professionally as Dretta Say Mitchell. She's a British novelist, broadcaster, journalist, and campaigner. In her book, Say Her Name, it highlights the many injustices of melanated women who have been kidnapped, gone missing, or even worse, and no justice is served. And then there's Say Her Name, Centering Black Feminism and Black Women in Sports by Leticia Ingracia Cardoso Brown. She's an assistant professor at University of Cincinnati in Ohio. This book offers an in-depth look into the experiences of melanated girls and women as athletes, activists, and everyday people through a melanated feminist lens. And then we have another longtime activist who happens to be one of our members of our tribe and also part of our podcast team, Miss Anita Wills. And in her book, A Nation of Flaws, Just Us, in the Homeland, Miss Wills lays out the history of policing beginning with Native Americans and then continuing on through slavery. She details how slave catchers, overseers, paddy rollers, bounty hunters, white militia, and KKK, they morphed into the present day law enforcement. You can find this and her other books on her website, www.blackpast.org. And then here's a similar author, okay? This book is a fiction, The Last Visit, I did a long time ago. It begins with the Rodney King incident, the beating of Rodney King, and the riots and the burning, but it's told from the viewpoint of an innocent Caucasian man, Luther Rawlings. He becomes a victim. He does survive, but he becomes a victim. And while he's in the emergency room trying to recover. It's basically the book is told from the perspective of one of his longtime melanated friends, Hawk Williams. So where do we go from here? There are a lot of people who are doing a lot about this issue. Some people pretend that it doesn't exist, but there's a group called Confront Colorism campaign from the DoSomething.org, and they are doing a great deal. We have a lot of young people who are involved in this. In fact, they invite the young people to join with them.
As an African American female, I have noticed that sometimes African Americans or darker-skinned people get treated differently than lighter-skinned people. Darker skin can be portrayed as a bad thing, or can have lots of bad stereotypes attached to it, which can be very problematic. It seems that the colorism issue is worldwide from stories I have heard from people in other countries besides the United States. The truth is, every skin color is beautiful, and the whole spectrum of skin tones all over the world makes humans unique. Beauty is more than skin deep anyway.
I believe everyone should be equal no matter your race or skin tone. Personally, now that I have read about this topic, it has opened my eyes that this is true and it's happening. It's all over the place, including how more movies feature light-skinned actors than dark-skinned actors. This has to stop not only in movies, but also in education, employment, justice, and etc. There should be no beauty standards when it comes to skin tones. This is an important topic that should be discussed more.
Colorism is very prevalent in my community. Living in Puerto Rico, I have heard many people make colorist comments without realizing that the things they are saying are wrong. Not long ago, one of the assistants at my dentist's office was telling me about another patient. She told me, "Ella es bonita por ser negrita," meaning she is beautiful for a black girl. I was confused and upset about this comment. I had never heard anyone ever say such a thing. I realized that the assistant doesn't realize her comment was wrong because of what our culture has said about darker skin tones for so long, but that doesn't make it right. Racism and colorism in Puerto Rico, and likely many other cultures, is internalized, and it is something I actively try to fight so that others can be more open-minded and choose not to subscribe to disgusting and hurtful ideologies.
I consider myself to live in a bubble. A lot of people in my community prefer to believe that colorism does not exist where we live, but I've seen it exist firsthand. A lot of my peers are interested in advocating for social justice, and I legitimately think that sharing this quiz with them is a great way to spread awareness to something that might seem otherwise invisible to them.
It's good to see that there are young people who understand and that colorism does exist, even though it's more covert than overt. And you just heard their voices. And this is Ronald Wimberly. He's a cartoonist, and he established what they call the toolkit for what's colorism. And this is a toolkit that presents an activity that educators can use to discuss colorism with the students. It centers on a graphic essay that looks at colorism in a comic. And among other activities, it features what we call Lighten Up, a graphic essay about race, representation, and colorism in a Marvel comic. Cartoonist Ron Wimberly, he created that Lighten Up for the online magazine called The Nib. Lastly, there was a study that was done in 2022 with a group of people from the University of Southern Mississippi called The Effects of Skin Tone on the Perception of Young African American Women. And Daniel Stamps, a research specialist, Master of Science, Elena Stepanova, Assistant Professor of Psychology, and Jin Hao Chi has a PhD graduate. He's a PhD graduate and has a Doctor of Philosophy. They created a questionnaire, and this questionnaire on colorism, I'm actually going to make available once the video is published, and it also is available on our website.